Okay, sports fans, I wanted to show you how I do my reservoir change out on my Dutch buckets. Here you can see I have my reservoir. I have a pump in there. I also have two air stones and a float valve. Now this float valve is connected to this reserve tank. So any water that's used out of my reservoir is refilled through this float valve and that reservoir. Now what I do is each one of my valves here, I go ahead and turn these off. That way I'm not getting nutrient into that. And then in that line that follows around the back with all of my feed lines, over here on the end of it, I've got a ball valve with a hose connection. All I do is turn this valve on, turn my pumps on, and that drains my reservoir in about 5 minutes. At 300 gallons per hour, it is real quick. So that takes care of cleaning out my system. Then I go ahead and fill this with 3 or 4 inches of water and turn my valves on and pump again and let that take and flush out the amount of nutrient that is down in this bottom portion that is there all the time. So I'm getting rid of a lot of the old nutrient. Then come back and go ahead and fill this up to the level that I want. And then here is my MasterBlend, and you run this through the blender for about 3-4 minutes in warm water, and you can see that there is no salts in there that are not dissolved. This works perfect. Okay, I do have my calcium nitrate in here now. Now what I do is I'm using warm water and I mix my calcium nitrate separate from my MasterBlend and Epson salts. I'll just take that, throw it over here on my blender, and hit it. And we'll look at the clock on the wall, and we'll give this about 3-4 minutes. It's been about 4 minutes, and I just turned this off, and we'll take a look in there. Now it does take a little bit for that to clear completely up, but you can see there is no salts left in there at all. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add that to my reservoir. Now stir this all up and mix it in here real good before you turn it on to your plants, because you don't want to just take and have the plants receive the MasterBlend in an earlier mix and then the calcium nitrate. So we want to take and give it to them as a complete mix. Now when we do this, it's also going to take and dilute it from the water that is still trapped in these buckets in that 1.5 inches that's in there. Okay, I've had this set a while. Let me turn my pumps on and we're off and running. Now you'll see there is no crystals in there anywheres. You've got a good complete mix. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just take a reading on this right now and see what we get. And if you can see that, we're at 2.6. Let's take a look at the pH. Now remember, I'm trying to do this one-handed, so just looking at about 6.14, 15. We'll see what it is once this thing settles down and circulates all through the system. Now remember that 1.5 inches that I have in 18 buckets is going to be about I don't know, 7 gallons maybe. So that's going to be diluting that down, and that EC should drop. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. Let's take a look at this again now. And you can see we dropped right down to that 2.2 where we wanted it. Okay, that's good on that. Let's see what that pH looks like. And we're at like 6.4. So I'm going to add a little pH down to that. I want to get this down to about 5.8, 5.9. Okay, now what I do for adding my pH down in that, I've got one of these meat marinade syringes with the needle on it, and this is marked in milliliters, so it makes it real easy to take and judge how much pH down you're going to need. Now this isn't going to need much. I'll just try 10 milliliters and we'll see what that does. Okay, I've got my 10 milliliters in there. Just going to shoot that in there. I got one of these pancake spatulas from the Dollar Tree. It works really good for stirring this up. We'll send that through and see if we're going to need to change that. By the time that gets through there, it'll probably be just about right. Okay, that's how I do my nutrient change out. And remember, the only thing that's restricting you on any of this is your own imagination. And you probably noticed here on the clock on the wall that it's not a real clock. What that is, it's an old pressure gauge, and I took the guts out of it and just put in a battery operated clock mechanism in there and turned it into a clock. Even run a copper tubing into the wall there so it looks like it is a pressure gauge, just for the nostalgia look. So remember, your imagination is the only thing that'll hold you up on doing any of this. Oh, and as my final step on this, I just used a piece of 1/2-inch foam here that is cut, and that takes and closes everything off. Fits on there real nice. Put a brick on there so nothing moves, and I'm sealed up and don't have any light problems. Again, I hope this helps, and I'll see you on the next one.